the consultant. Thank you for taking time out to watch this week's Facebook Live. We're talking about what's involved in running your business. You're the leader of the business. There are things that affect you specifically, and the decisions that you make determine what happens inside your business. So I make these content pieces to speak in those terms, to speak in that language, to talk about what affects you so you can make the best decisions as you build out this agency, as you build out this business that makes you happy, right? I don't, as of this moment, I don't have a formal title for today. I'll figure something out clever later. But here's the basic summary. There's a friend of mine who is taking over a law firm, and there's some mistakes that he is making. There's some mistakes that he is about to make. And we've dialogued about that. And I believe that his thought process where he is right now is directly overlaps some things that are going on with you right now. So I want to tell you the story of our dialogue, and hopefully you can take something from it. So again, a friend of mine is taking over a law firm, and I want him to be prepared well for that. And here is our dialogue. So let's start with Emily is here. Hello, Emily. Let's start with the beginning, right? So the beginning is always about excitement, right? The beginning is always about excitement. So in the very beginning, you are excited to begin your work, right, as a business owner, and so he's no different. There's this. So at this precise moment, he's working for another law firm. In the last year, he's been considering and eventually has decided to take over a new law firm. So, or another law firm. So this is a story that's had it's got some a tail on it, right? It's got some length on it. So when he first starts talking about, the opportunity to have a law firm of his own, you begin with excitement, right? I get to finally do things my way. I'm so tired of doing things their way. They are so inefficient. They don't pay me enough. They don't give me enough days off, whatever it is, right? So I'm so sick of doing it their way, and I finally get a chance to do it my way. Right here is where a lot of people make the decision to buy a bunch of things that they don't need. So I would love to do it my way. I need business cards that speak a certain language. I need to create a website that speaks a certain language. I need more suits that fit the way I want them to fit. I need to develop taglines and catchphrases. I have other content that talks about this whole series of mistakes. I'm going to push past those today. But typically right here is when a bunch of mistakes are made because you're just flat out excited. And in that excitement state, you invest a lot of time, money, and resources in things that just don't play to your benefit. Okay, but now we're going to move to thing number 2 here, because let's talk about the situation that he has. So in his situation, he is taking over a law firm that currently has a partner. So the law firm that he's moving into has an existing partner. There's a single partner in that law firm. Here's some of the context of that situation. So this gentleman is older. He's around 60 years old, give or take. And he's been running this law firm by himself for at least 10 years. I'm not quite sure how long it's been, but it's been at least 10 years. So he's got experience running this firm. This firm is successful. This firm is profitable. It's got a base of business, right? They've got a thing is already going on. He has had a full career in running his own law firm, right? The current partner has had a career running his own law firm. So this firm exists. It works. He's kind of run his course, and now he's looking to transition. He's looking to retire, right? To do some other things that he wants to do. So he's getting out of the legal business, out of the law firm business, and he's allowing this friend of mine to move into the business, right? There's already a team in place. So there's already some support to execute on the legal work. 80% of the revenue in this business comes from one client. 80%, the vast majority of the revenue that this law firm brings in comes from one very large institutional client. And that business is based 100% on the power of that relationship. They've been doing business for a long time. They know this individual partner, And so this big client is used to working with this person and, calling them in when they need and getting the help when they need, etc. So yes, the firm is profitable. Yes, the firm has a lot of good things going on, but from a revenue perspective, they're not very diversified. There's one core client bringing in the vast majority of the revenue. Everything else are side projects. And if you're picturing this as I'm telling this story and you're taking this picture in completely, there's really only space in this law firm for one partner. Like, this business works for the partner who's currently in place. There, at this exact moment, there really isn't space for another person to come in. Like financially, like there isn't space. As far as the amount of work to be done, the work in the firm, there isn't a lot of space. So one of the important conversations here for my friend who was moving into this firm is whatever he brings when he arrives in this new firm, or when he arrives in the firm as a partner, he's got to be able to create space for himself, right? He can't just eat off of what already exists. That money's already been delegated, either in salaries or in resources or in expenses. It's already been applied somewhere. So when he first comes to the agency, comes to the firm rather, he is an expense. My friend that comes into this agency is an expense, right? You're not an asset. I'm saying the same thing to you. You think you're an asset because you're just inherently valuable. Kinda, right? Your skill set has to immediately be applied in an advantageous way into your agency or into a firm or business or what have you. When you come in, you are an expense, sir. You are an expense, ma'am. And so you got to find a way to turn what you do, this thing you know how to do, who you are, into something that the firm can use to get momentum. Okay. So then let's go to the next section here. Let's talk about, that's the existing partner, right? The person who's already in the business. Let's talk about this friend of mine. Let's talk about the new ambitious partner, right? So this friend of mine who's excited about, finally being a partner in a law firm, making some decisions, doing some good work, furthering his career, et cetera, right? Okay. So he's admitted to me that he's never run a business before, never done it. He's been a lawyer, right? He's been a tactical lawyer or a technical lawyer, his career, nothing wrong with that, but he's never run his own firm before. However, he is confident in his ability. He believes he can figure it out, right? And me too. This stuff is not rocket science. It can be figured out, right? But at this moment, he admits that he's never done this kind of work before, being a partner in a firm. So one of my core statements to him, as we talked about this new situation, is that when you go to this new firm, you are no longer a lawyer. You are now a partner. And that's a different job description. You're not a lawyer anymore. Your job is not to do the heavy legal lifting of the business every day. That's not your job anymore. You're now the partner of a firm. You're one of two partners at that moment when you come in. You're one of two partners. You have a brand new job description. There are other things that are important now as you being the partner. So if you come into this job thinking only about how much legal work you're going to do, you're going to fail your own firm because there's all these things you're not thinking about. Let me help you with that. Let me offer you what I offered him. So I said, being a good lawyer is not enough. If you're only thinking about doing the law harder, it's going to frustrate you. So yes, you've got technical expertise, but if all you think about is, man, I finally get to turn forms in the way I want to turn forms in. I get to turn in my casework the way I want to turn in casework. I get to turn in case notes the way I want to turn in case notes. I get to talk to clients the way I want to talk to clients. I get to do things the way I want to do them. If you're thinking about technical legal work, you're missing the boat. Okay. So to help him think through that, I'm saying the same thing to you. To help him think through that, I reminded him that his current environment as an employee, his current environment has invisible infrastructure that helps with his efficiency. There is existing infrastructure in where he works as an employee that helps with his efficiency. Let me give you some very quick examples of that. One quick example is your email address. So when you work for someone else, they give you an email address, right? It's name@awesomecompany.com, name@awesomeagency.com, name@awesomefirm.com, right? That's professional, right? But when you decide to run your own business, start your own agency, start your own firm, take over a firm in this situation, what's your email address? Are you Superman92@gmail.com? Because do you have a business email address? Right? Are you Chocolate Bunny at 86.com? Right? We all have one. We have an email address for our alter ego, right? But is that your fallback? Do you go from this professional standard, good email address to this very casual, off the cuff email address? Your current working environment gives you that email address, right? Do you even know how to create one for your business? That's a thing. Okay, so moving on from that, how about business hours? So when you work for someone else, there's these established business hours. You start work about this time, you end work about this time. That's pretty standard. So you know when to show up and when you can leave. You also know when your clients are going to call, right? They know when you're available, when they're not, because you have these established business hours. But when you start working for yourself, do you have the same exact business hours, or are they going to change? Who sets those business hours? Who communicates those business hours? How are they communicated? What makes sure that your client is going to respect those business hours? When you decide to run your own company, how do those decisions get made? Who makes them? When you work for a company, those things are already established. The answers are already present. But when you work for your own company, and for those of you who are already in that situation, you feel this pressure of constantly being available for clients because you haven't set simple business hours. Okay, one more in this category. How about your boss? So when you used to work for a company, or if you still work for a company, you might remember the boss that gets on your last nerves. John gets on my last living nerves. Susie is so inefficient. She is so bad. Maybe that's true. But simply having a boss gives you a feedback loop. So when you turn some work in, say, hey, can someone look at this for me before I submit this? Can someone look at this and make sure before it goes to the entire company that this is right? Before this goes out to a client, can we review this together? When you've got a boss, you've got their feedback loop. Even if they are incredibly inefficient, even if they get on your last living nerves, they're still your boss. They're still there. They're still part of your feedback loop. So when you work for a company, that infrastructure is already there. Someone you can give work to, a feedback to, or an assignment to, what have you. You can dialogue on that, and even if they get on your last living nerve, you go, you know what? I appreciate that feedback. I can make some changes. I'll do that. But when you run your own company, who's your boss? Who do you get that feedback from? How do you make sure that there isn't a spelling error in the document you're going to send off? How do you make sure that the document you're going to send out isn't missing a full page? Or if your argument, whatever you're setting up inside this document, is missing an essential element, like you didn't fully explain why to do something or how to do something. Who double checks that for you? When you're in your own company, where is that feedback loop? That's some of the infrastructure that exists when you work for someone else that is now brand new, or perhaps unavailable when you work for yourself. When you run your own company. What you'll find, as you make, and I said the same thing to him. When you make this transition from being employee to being partner, you'll find that you're actually less efficient, and that will make you crazy. It'll make you pull your hair out. You can't understand it. You're finally running your own company. You're finally doing things your way. And all of a sudden, the work is not happening as fast as you thought it would happen. It's not happening as well it's not going as well as you thought it would go. What's happening? I'm trying to highlight that for you now. There's infrastructure in your current environment that supports you so you can be efficient. And when you step out on your own, you no longer have that infrastructure. And you will feel the effectiveness on your efficiency. You'll feel less efficient, even though you have more freedom. So my question to him was, was, for just a moment, let's relieve all of the romantic ideas of this opportunity. They're all appropriate, but let's think critically about what your first day as a partner is going to be like. So you no longer work for the other company. You now work for your own firm. You're a partner in your own firm. What are you going to do in your very first day of work? What does that work day look like? And as I've said here, if in your mind your work day is full of legal casework, you've missed it. You've missed the boat. There are so many other things that are important to having this firm run well than just your prowess as an individual lawyer. Are you even aware of those things? Okay. So now let's continue. So as you can imagine, right now, I'm telling you a story about a personal friend of mine. So we were having these dialogues more or less informally, right? So we're having these conversations, and so now that we're having these conversations, and over time, I'm confronting his perspective, right? I'm confronting this picture. I'm providing some additional perspective, some light that he didn't see before. So here's what happened. The excitement for the opportunity is still there. He's still excited about the opportunity of running his own firm. That's still there. But now that's balanced by the reality of his situation. So what begins to show up here are some fears and some concerns and some doubt. Now that he realizes that it may not be as glorious or as smooth as he thinks it's going to be. So then he began to admit some things, which I really respect him for. He started to say that, I know what I do, right? As an individual lawyer, I'm very clear and confident and comfortable in what I do. But then he began to admit even further, but I've never run a business before. And I don't know what I don't know about that. Now, that's a phrase we use a lot. You don't know what you don't know. And sometimes you say it and it doesn't really land. So let's make sure we all appreciate that together. You don't know what you don't know. In other words, there are things you know. There are things you don't know. But you're not even aware that those things exist. So again, there are things you know. There are things you don't know. But you had no idea these things were even in the atmosphere. So you do these things at an incredibly high level. But these prickly things eventually end up taking over and causing stress and strain, right? So another way of saying that are blind spots. There are things that you can see, they're right in front of you, but then there are things behind your head that you just can't see. You literally don't have eyes in the back of your head. It doesn't matter how smart you are. And even when you turn around to look at something, there will always be something behind your head. There will always be a blind spot. And so he's beginning to see that number one, he has some blind spots, some I just talked about. Then there's some other things. He's now feeling that there's some things outside of what we've discussed that he still doesn't know. There's other blind spots. There are other things that he doesn't know that he doesn't know. If that makes sense, right? If that doesn't make sense, post a comment, ask the question. Let's see what happens. Okay. So here's some things as we were in these moments of confrontation, confronting the reality of this situation. I'm asking him, so do you have time to figure all this stuff out? Like literally. So there's a legal work that and by the way, even in stepping into this new firm, there's a existing caseload he's got to get himself up to speed on. It's going to take a while to get himself up to speed with this institutional client in this long breadth of work that's been happening. It's not going to happen overnight. So he's going to have to get up to speed with that. And then there's all this other stuff that he might not know to do, right? So does he have time to figure out all this other stuff out? Like, is that efficient? Is that an efficient use of his time? What if and let's say he can figure it out. Figure it out, whatever that means. He can figure it all out. How long does that take? Is that a 3-month figure it out? Is that a 6-month figure it out? Is that a 3-year figure it out? It's a 5-year figure it out. Do you have the bandwidth, the time, the people, the energy, the money to figure it out over 5 years? Like, does that even sound interesting to you? It's a thought. These are things you got to think through. What if, while you're figuring all this out, what if it doesn't work? What do you do then? What if you join this firm, you become a partner, and what if that classic hockey stick of growth doesn't happen? Like, what if you don't make double the revenue in the next 2 months? What happens? Do we know how he even thought about it? What happens to your existing lifestyle if this business does not boom the way you expect? So right now he's a lawyer, right? He's paid well as an employed lawyer. So guess at what salary he's making, right? Well, what happens if you join this new law firm as a partner? What I know for sure already is he's taking a pay cut as is to join the firm. We already explained this firm was not built to have multiple partners in it. Right now, it's built to only have one partner in it. So in just a moment, it's going to have two partners. So on some level, there's got to be some negotiation with how much money folks take home. So there's already a pay cut that comes with becoming a partner of this firm, at least up front. So how does your lifestyle change? How will his lifestyle change? Right now, he owns a home. He drives a car. He's got a wife. He's got a family. He's got hobbies. He's got things like you do. He's got things. And what happens if it doesn't work the way you think? And all this new money doesn't come the way you think? So do the cars go away? Do we dip into the savings account? Do we change how many vacations we can take this year? Are we comfortable making those sacrifices? Do we even see those sacrifices? Or do they become these random shocking events at every month? Oh my God, we don't have enough money. We got to cut off blank. Oh my God, we can't do this anymore. We got to stop blank. And if you've been through this, you know what I'm talking about. It gets really old to wake up once every month and realize you can't pay a certain bill and have to make these life changes. It's just not nearly as cool as it sounds. So these all become confrontational thoughts, things you got to really think through. Now that we're thinking about the reality of the shift, here's what we got to think about. This is real. This is a real business. Okay. So the next section here, right? And here's where this gentleman's got to make some decisions. What are you gonna do? Right? You got to make a decision about what you're gonna do. But because you're the partner of this firm, it's your firm. It's your firm. What are you gonna do about the growth of your firm? Let's give that some structure. What you've heard me highlight today here is that you can choose to be the ultimate technical expert. You can choose to say, I'm going to do the law the way I want. I'm going to know everything, do everything, and spread my wings and be as smart as everything about doing the law. And you can become so overwhelmed with that, so consumed by that the business doesn't work the way you want. So you can work the way you want. You can work the way you want, but the business may not work the way you want. And at some point, there's a reckoning between those two things. And again, all the uncomfortable moments I just talked about, right? So you got to decide how you want to play this game. Let me say it another way. You got to decide which business model you're going to use to build your agency. Firm, in this case, legal firm, right? Business model. What's a business model, right? How do I build a business model? Right, exactly. This is your job as a leader of the business. Your job is to establish a core business model and build it and nurture it. So in this world with Covenant Consulting, we think about business. We think about business model with three pillar elements: client acquisition, client service, client retention. Make some decisions. How are you going to do client acquisition? How are you going to do it mechanically, step by step, tactically? How are you going to do it? Client service. How are you going to deliver it? How are you going to do it mechanically, tactically? How does it work? Client retention, mechanically, tactically. How are you going to keep clients for the long term? How are you going to do it? Do you know? Are you clear? Can you explain it to somebody else? And again, these you cannot get clarity here without making some decisions. These things don't fix themselves. You've got to make some decisions about that. So here's where that lands for him in his situation. He's got kind of one big choice to make here. There's the traditional way that a law firm functions. And then there's a productized way that I recommend, frankly. The traditional way that a law firm functions, and whether it's and I'm telling the story because whether it's a law firm, a marketing firm, a digital agency, classic consulting firm, a management consulting firm, an HR consulting firm, all these firms, agencies, companies, they all function more or less the same way. The conventional wisdom for how to build one of these kind of companies is more or less, it's been the same for forever. It's the same basic framing. So here's how it works, more or less, simply put, with a legal firm. Client acquisition is about referrals. It's about going to building relationships, whatever the heck that means, building relationships and using those relationships to bring in new business. Okay. What does that mean practically? That means you got to buy a lot of lunches and a lot of dinners. That's a lot of schmoozing. That's a lot of talking. That's a lot of, you're nice, I'm nice, we're nice. That's a lot of that with the hope and the quiet expectation that one day you'll get some work from this opportunity, from this relationship. Not a guarantee. Can't guarantee. It's just hope. Does that work? Yeah, it works. It's been working for a long time. Is that how you want to function, though, is my question. Okay. Level number 2 here. Client service. Client service, especially in the legal world, is dominated by the billable hour. That is how it works. You are in the legal world, your value is directly attached to the number of billable hours you charge for. And in the legal world, that can be down to the incremental minute in these 15-minute blocks. You're charging by the hour. If you like that, do it. It works. It's been working for a long time. Simply put, is that how you'd like to function? What you've got to think about, especially if you're the partner of this firm, is every hour you spend billing is not an hour you spend building. So you can bill, right? Because you're the partner. You get to put your name on the billboard and charge the most money because you're the partner. But every hour you spend billing out your services is an hour you're not spending building the actual firm. And the long-term health of the firm is found in how well you build it, how well you shape it, right? You got to think about that. But this is how the legal world works, which is very similar to many other service-based firms. You charge by the hour, you charge a whole bunch, and that's how it works. But there's a trade-off there that you might not be aware of, and we're highlighting that right now. Client retention, here's more or less how that works. Is really we're just trying to find the biggest possible case we can in a legal firm, right? And in a legal firm, typically, generally speaking, the biggest possible case is a personal injury firm, a slip and fall, hit by a car, hit by a truck, some sort of personal liability kind of case, workers' comp kind of thing, where someone's suing this really big company, and you are the law firm helping, in that legal effort, right? Now, whether or not you like that style of law, that's how. Especially for smaller firms, that's an important element of the revenue that comes through the business. Here's what happens in practicality. As my father would say, you got to kiss a lot of frogs in that business. In other words, like kiss frogs to find which one is the prince. So this is the lottery. There's a lot of people who submit claims, whatever those claims are, to sue a business, but those claims don't always pan out to be real or legitimate. But as the law firm, you got to research all of them. There's a cost to that. Interviewing people, doing the investigative work, taking the notes, submitting the forms, going to court. Those things cost money. It costs money to do all of those things. So the case may not unfold into some $20 million case. It may not become a case at all. But as the law firm, you got to incur the cost of that. So your client retention is hopefully that you find some big case you can work on for an extended period of time. But you don't know when or how that's going to shake out. It is fundamentally unpredictable. Can that work? Yes, it can. It's been proven 100 times over. You can do it. I'm asking you, is that how you want to function? I'm asking him, or I have asked him, is that how you want to function? Make a decision here. Choose which way you'd like to go. What I recommended to him, same thing I recommend to you, is to think about the company in a more productized fashion. So what do I mean by that? What I mean, client acquisition means that you choose which pool or which pond you want to fish in. Right. So client acquisition is not about going to 100 referral sources and hoping and praying that someone sends you business. Instead, you're a fisherman. You find a pond that you know exists. You go to that pond, right? You fish for fish that you know are in that pond. And after an hour, you got some fish. You go home and you go eat. And then when you want some more fish, you go back to your pond, you fish. After an hour, you got some fish. You go home and you go eat. It's just a better picture, right? At least that's the way I think. Thinking about your company in terms of being productized helps you think that way, and it helps make that real. Client service gives you a chance to focus and train your team members on high margin, profitable tasks. So because when you productize, you focus in, you say, this is what we do well, and we're going to do this over and over. So now you can train your team to execute these very high level and profitable tasks without the concern of other weird projects coming in and having to chase that revenue down and chase those projects down. You manage the scope, you know it's a high margin scope, and you know you can do it at a high level. Being productized gives you a chance to execute in that way. Finally here, the value of being productized is now you're choosing on the front end the kind of work you want to do and don't want to do. And there's freedom in that choice. It's my choice. We're going to do this kind of work for these kind of clients. We're not going to do that kind of work for those kind of clients. There may be decent money over there, but that work stresses me. I like this work over here that I know we can do at a high level. Your freedom is found in the specific choice that you make, choosing this over that. Now, here's what I told him, though. Here's what I told him after explaining kind of these two constructs. The traditional way, which is referral-based, billable hour-based, etc. That traditional way is what everybody else does. It's what you're used to seeing. It's what you know. It's the model you've worked in. It's comfortable for that reason. And because of that, you may choose to pursue that. Totally cool. Totally fine. What I'm recommending, what I believe to be more efficient, is completely out of your comfort zone. Nobody you know functions this way. Nobody you know talks this way. You haven't seen a lawyer yet do what I'm describing. And it's going to feel on some level embarrassing because it's going to put some questions in front of you that you didn't have the answers to, that you thought you were supposed to have the answers to. And because you can't immediately pop those answers out, you're going to have one of these moments. The result of that is what I believe to be a more efficient way of approaching your business. Better for you and better for your clients. But to get there, there's a price you got to pay. There's a transition you've got to make. So I'm being honest with you the same way I'm being honest with him. You can do what everybody else is doing because that's comfortable, even though you know it's less efficient. But if you want a more efficient and more profitable way of building your business, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to challenge you to do some things that you didn't know or think or were important, but they are. So to close out today, there's a story I wanted to tell to really bring it home here. Have you ever seen The Karate Kid? Right, this is Daniel-san, right? Daniel-san and Mr. Miyagi, right? This is 1980s movies, right? Have you ever seen The Karate Kid? Let's walk through that together, right? So The Karate Kid. Daniel was getting beat up. If you remember, Daniel, right, was minding his own business. He liked this girl, and then there was another guy, Cobra Kai, right? Another guy was involved in this martial arts studio, the Cobra Kai, and those guys, basically were bullying Daniel, right? Daniel was getting beat up. Daniel was tired, getting beat up, and Daniel went to Mr. Miyagi for help. Like, Mr. Miyagi, I'm getting beat up. Can you help me stop getting beat up? So Mr. Miyagi's first assignment to Daniel was to hand wax a whole parking lot full of cars. Daniel's confused. Mr. Miyagi, I told you I'm getting beat up. I got black guys. I got bruised stomach, and I need help fighting. And you're talking to me about washing or waxing cars. Mr. Miyagi's like, yep, wax the cars. In fact, he says, wax on with your right hand, wax off with your left hand. And then he confirmed with Daniel, wax on, wax off. Got it? Whole lot. He leaves. Okay. Daniel, who, just needs help, right? Accepts the challenge and waxes the cars. Here's what's important about this moment right here. Daniel didn't know how to fight. That's why he went to Mr. Miyagi, right? He did not know how to fight. What he knew was how to survive through abuse, right? Cobra Kai was beating him up. So he was just taking the abuse and getting through it. Did he die? No, but he was abused and he was tired of being abused. So there was a way he thought about fighting, but the way he thought about fighting was from a guy getting abused. He didn't know how to win fights. He knew how to not get abused. He knew how to survive through abuse. So what Mr. Miyagi was trying to help him do was reframe how this whole fighting thing works. Let's continue. So eventually, Daniel waxes all these cars. He gets frustrated, right? There's some other stuff Mr. Miyagi asked him to do, but for the sake of speed, we'll continue. And eventually, he gets frustrated with Mr. Miyagi and these games, these mind games he's playing, right? It's like, hey, I want to learn to fight. So then Mr. Miyagi attacks him, right? And then all of a sudden, as these punches start coming towards Daniel's using these techniques he was taught to deflect the punches. Now, so in that moment, Daniel realizes that the stuff he was being asked to do, though it seemed so weird, out of pocket, so foreign, so strange, was actually a more efficient way of fighting. But if Mr. Miyagi had asked Daniel to make this motion 90 times and to make this motion 90 times, Daniel wouldn't have done it, right? He would have gotten bored. This is stupid. I quit. But the activity of waxing the car reinforced the muscle memory. He had to give him a real activity, right, to reinforce the muscle memory. What does all that mean to you, right? If you do you need help? Okay, a friend of mine taking over this law firm. He needs help, right? He needs help. Daniel needed help. Daniel had black eyes and bruised body to prove that he needed help. I'm trying to help my friend, the lawyer, avoid some black eyes and bruised body. I'm trying to help you avoid the black eyes and bruised body. I've already taken this stuff. I've already gotten face punched. I'm trying to help you avoid some of yours. Do you need help? Okay. Daniel decided where to go get the help. Daniel went to Mr. Miyagi and said, hey, I need some help. I'm getting beat up, right? Here's what I said to my friend that's a lawyer. You need to decide where you're going to get help. So if you're feeling these issues, these blind spots that are forming behind you, and you're kind of feeling them loom, you don't know what they're called, you don't know what to do, you're not quite sure, but you're feeling this challenge loom, you need to figure out where you're going to get some help. Now this friend of mine is considering working with me in my company. I'm happy to have him if he believes that what I offer is a solution to his problem. But if he believes that another place solves his problem, then go get help over there. But you can't sit in the middle. Sitting in the middle will have you with more face punches, like Daniel was getting. If you do nothing, which you will get, or more face punches. In deciding to get that help, you're going to be challenged to do things that you think are foreign, that you think are weird, that you think are outside your comfort zone. But you've got a new job description. You are no longer the best lawyer in the building. You're no longer the best consultant in the building. You're no longer the best technical expert in the building. That's actually less important. Now you got to raise your game, raise your level of play. You now run a business. And there's a different set of skills you have to practice and eventually master. Your game does not change. Your business does not change until you make that admission and actually get on that journey. You're going to have to wax the cars. There is no cheat code for that. I hope you found that valuable. If you did or did not, tell me. There's a comment box down here. Tell me. If you liked it, say great. Thumbs up, Alze, give me more. If you don't like it, Alze, this one missed me. Not the best. Try another one. Maybe do something else. Right? So you let me know. All right. So we're at the end here. We're at the end. It is Q&A time. Get it in here. Q&A time. So far, so good. Looks like I don't see any urgent questions, so I think we're all right. I know we're on a bit of a delay, so I'll hold for just a moment in case a question pops up. But I think, feels like, I think we're good. I think we're good. So I won't hold you again. If you got a comment either now or with the or in the replay, post it, and I'll respond. I do my best to respond to all comments as long as they're well intentioned. Well, so whether it's a support or what, pros and cons, like it or don't like it, that's fine. I'm up for all conversation. But just let's keep things professional. So all right, folks, take care. Enjoy your day. I'll talk to you soon.